Yes, Siddhant Goswami, describe about yourself, two good points and two shortcomings.
Sir, my name is Siddhant Goswami. Sir, two good points about me are that I am very hardworking and I have cultured a value of perseverance. And second good point about me is that I have developed a value of empathy to be able to empathize with others. The two shortcomings about me is that sometimes I plan a lot, which can lead to the problem of micro planning and missing out the bigger picture. And the second thing is sometimes I can be impatient. I can uh, I can be impatient about others. I believe that they should work at my own pace. So that's two shortcomings about me, sir.
Okay. So you belong to Ghaziabad. Describe about your district.
Sir, Ghaziabad is a district in western Uttar Pradesh. It is known as the gateway of Uttar Pradesh. As if you want to enter from Delhi to Uttar Pradesh, that's why it is given the name of the gateway to Uttar Pradesh. Ghaziabad has three tehsils. Uh, my tehsil is Ghaziabad, but there are other two tehsils, Loni and Modinagar. The population of Ghaziabad is around 50 lakh, and the sex ratio of Ghaziabad is around 900. The literacy rate of Ghaziabad is around 80. Ghaziabad is predominantly an urban district with most of its population urban population. Its industry, its economic base is primarily industrial.
Okay. Recently, you must be reading the reports in the newspaper. WHO claims that India lost almost 50 lakh lives in this COVID-19, COVID 2021 pandemic, whereas we say we lost only 5 lakh persons. So, what is the truth? How do you visualize the reports of the WHO?
So WHO is an international organization, and while Indian reports claim that the mortality rates are much lower as compared to WHO, the Indian government has claimed that the data with WHO is more along the line of what we call in data analysis as transgression. That means it has taken a small sample space and it has transgressed into an estimation. While Indian government says that our data is based on actual what is the report has been from the hospital. So that's why there is a variance between the two data sets.
Do you think that we must be manipulating our data to report less number of deaths?
Sir, we should not be manipulating our data set. Rather, what we can do is that we must be, we must try to create what exactly are we trying to do with the data set that is coming in. So we must not try to manipulate the data set. Rather, we must try to orient our policy as per the data that is coming up. This is known as data-driven governance, sir.
Okay. There have been number of my family, friends, and relatives who had been telling that doctors don't declare the COVID deaths and they declared the normal deaths. So that was also one of the reason that we had less number of deaths in this COVID 2021.
Yes, sir. Sir, there have been many reports from the parliament that the data quality in India is not very good. It's very poor. This is one of the reasons that India has failed, or in fact, it has been a laggard in data-driven governance. We cannot rely on our data. The data is in silos. We cannot use one department of data of one department and use it in the other department because the data is in silo. It is not complete. And as you mentioned, the doctors have been reporting it in a different manner. So that comes under the heading of data quality.
What were the reports from Ghaziabad district? As you belong to the Ghaziabad district, what were the reports from the ground in your district?
Sir, regarding Ghaziabad district, the positivity rate currently is less than 1%. But Ghaziabad was a red zone under hotspot in the Delhi NCR region. But as of now, Ghaziabad is not the active caseload in Ghaziabad is below 200. So, and apart from the actual ground reporting, sir, I am not aware about that.
Okay. how much UP government should invest more money in the healthcare structure of the UP, especially rural areas? Do you agree to it?
Yes, sir. Uttar Pradesh government needs to invest more in the healthcare sector because we saw during the pandemic that, especially as you mentioned, the rural areas, we saw in the pandemic during the rural areas, as the migrants were returning back from other states, the government did not even have basic facilities to test these these migrants and also provide them accommodation and keep them under the isolation as per the COVID protocols. So this was the government infrastructure was exposed during the COVID-19. In general, also the health infrastructure in Uttar Pradesh, and in fact, you mentioned rural areas, even in urban areas, the health infrastructure is missing. As far as the government is concerned, the major infrastructure is of private sector, which is highly exclusive to the poor segments of the urban society. Urbanization in Uttar Pradesh has been highly exclusive, and that's why even the health infrastructure in urban areas requires government intervention.
Okay. So one of your interests is Kho. At what level
Yes,
have you
sir.
played the Kho?
Sir, I played Kho at the cluster level during my school time, sir.
Okay. You had been the media head in Parliament of Hindu College. So what were the
Yes,
events
sir.
that you organized?
Sir, as media head, my responsibility was to provide to handle the media related to whatever events the college were organizing. For example, there was literary fest, there was annual fest known as the Mecca Fest of Hindu College. There was symposium of the debates of the candidates who were contesting in the elections. So there was various events that were organized by the Parliament of Hindu College. My responsibility was to act as the media organizer of these events.
Okay. What is your choice or preference for the CAPF?
Sir, my first preference is CISF, second preference is SSP, third preference is ITBP, fourth is Sir BSF, and fifth is CRPF.
Okay. Supposing you were at the airport Jammu, and you must have seen that when the PM's visit was very near, a CSF party was trapped by the militants. So in considering on the similar line, you lost 3 Jawans of the CSF, and your CO says, I don't want to handle the media because it is a botched up operation and we have lost our Jawans. So he asks you to brief the media. How will you brief the media on this whole issue?
Sir, I would brief the media in a very professional manner. These incidents can happen because we are a professional force. It is our responsibility to handle everything professionally. But sometimes things can happen as per not our whatever we decided. So this was one of those times when there was an unexpected attack. Though we were in the outer cordon, and our responsibility was to ensure that if and all the militants are seen outside the outer cordon, we must be aware of it. And this these are the events that happen in the past also. There have been many events which have been professionally handled by the force, but this time also our soldiers worked professionally, and before more casualties can happen, we took the post and we were able to uh, prevent any further casualties and damage to the property.
From one of the journalists from Times of India asked you the specific question. Sir, your minibus was ambushed. 3 Jawans got killed, 9 got injured. Your troops did not retaliate, and in return, no militant was shot dead. How will you reply?
So in such a scenario, I will reply that we have SOPs, we have standard operating procedures as far as these situations are concerned, and we followed the SOPs. And the situation was the situation may have not turned out in our favor, but we followed the SOPs.
How can you give a positive reply so that this whole event can be covered?
Sir, we were able to we were able to pinpoint where the militants are, and the other forces were able to neutralize those militants. So our responsibility as soldiers are to perform the last task. So the last task was the protection of our prime minister, and we were able to ensure that, sir.
Okay, fine. One of your interest is fitness. So what do you do for the
Yes, sir.
fitness?
Sir, I have joined a gym, and secondly, I do high interval intensity training, sir.
What kind of exercises you go for?
Sir, in gymnasium, I go for strength training for push and push, pull and leg routine. And for high interval training, I go for sprint or other high intensity activities like jumping jack, burpees.
Okay. What is your father these days? What he's doing?
Sir, my father is in the electricity department vigilance. He's posted in Bijnor
Wow.
district, Uttar Pradesh.
He's at Lucknow.
Yes, sir. No, sir, Bijnor
Bijnor.
district,
Okay.
Bijnor, Uttar Pradesh.
What are the
Yes, sir.
duties of the vigilance department?
So the duties of vigilance department are to ensure that the electricity bills are paid as per the meter readings, and no one is able to uh, steal electricity by putting wires on the main line, and they have
Okay.
to act as per the reports, as is
Okay.
reported by the civilians around.
Okay. So previous to it, how many times have you attempted for CDS or CAPF?
Sir, I have not attempted for CDS, but I attempted for NDA once.
Okay. So what was the result in the NDA?
Sir, in the NDA, I was screened out.
Okay. These days, one article is going on by the journals of the country. Various journals are writing tour of duty program. Tour of duty program.
Yes, sir.
What do you mean by that?
Sir, tour of duty program is a government plan, has not been brought into operation as of now, but it is a plan wherein for 3 years uh, civilians would be inducted into the military at the lower levels, and for after 3 years they can leave the military and they will get uh, parallel, they will get preference in other government jobs. So the government is trying to induct civilians for by multiple reasons. First would be to reduce the government's revenue expenditure on the forces, and it could focus more on the capital side. And secondly, it will be able to integrate civilians more with the forces so as to increase nationalism among the civilians.
But the journals generally object that such kind of recruitment of officers should not be done because for war we need hardy, rough, tough, motivated officers, not like look, come and go. Explain.
Yes, sir. So that is a point that has been made. Even in context of the Ukraine war, this has been made that a lot of conscripts were used in the Ukraine war, and that's why Russia could not professionally handle its own military during the invasion of Ukraine. And even I concur with some of the points that you mentioned. But at the end of the day, the government is contemplating it. It has not actually implemented it. So as and when it implements it actually on the ground, then we can comment it. But currently it is in the proposal stage, so we can obviously recommend the changes that we would want into this
It
scheme.
is an idea mooted by the Ministry of HRD to reduce the bill of pay and pensions on the defense
Yes,
ministry.
sir. Yes, sir.
So these ideas are not yet implemented, but they are being debated and discussed.
Yes, sir. Sir, I think there are both pros and cons of the scheme. The pros, as the government mentioned, that it can reduce the revenue expenditure of the forces, and the cons are definitely there because if at all the forces are not hardy, it can create problems. As we saw in Ukraine, it can happen with us also. In case of in case of our conflicts with China or Pakistan, it can happen. Similarly, The issue of short service commission officers, we have already seen that they are facing a lot of problems because of short service. So even these people who will go there only for 3 years, they can also face problems. So yes, there will be problems in this scheme, sir.
Okay. What kind of help India is rendering to Sri Lanka to come out of the economic crisis?
So India is helping in providing essential commodities to Sri Lanka, and India is also providing medical supplies to Sri Lanka. We have also provided a line of credit to Sri Lanka, and from our personal accounts, the RBI has provided, as well as the South Asian line of credit has been provided. And India is also thinking upon foregoing the loan that Sri Lanka has taken from us.
Okay. What do you understand by Naga peace accords? How far we have gone for resolving the issue of insurgency in Nagaland?
The Naga peace accords are accords that the government of India has signed with the NNPGs, NSCN, and other groups that are operating in Nagaland and Manipur. It is for solving the issue of Naga insurgency. But what has happened is that there is no consensus in as far as Naga Accord is concerned. While the NSCN wants a wants a separate constitution, separate flag, while the Indian government does not want to cede to this demand. So it is to be seen what will happen in the future. But what I think is that as per Naga Accord, the government is clear that there will be no separate constitution, and only autonomy can be given to the Naga groups. The other problem with Naga Accord is the conflict between the Naga groups themselves. The NNPGs that are based in Nagaland, while NSCN is primarily based in Manipur, and there is another group called Khaplan which is based in Myanmar. So there are problems among these groups also. Even they don't have a consensus as to what kind of polity they want in Nagaland. For example, while the NNPGs want inner line permit in Nagaland, the NSCN does not want inner line permit, as it would prohibit the movement of NSCN cadres into Nagaland from Manipur. So, sir, there are problems of consensus on both sides, the Naga groups among themselves and also between the government and the Naga groups.
What is the border dispute between Assam and Manipur?
Sir, the border dispute between Assam and Manipur is on account of the fact that Manipur was once part of Assam and it has been separated from Assam. So what has happened is that while Manipur claims parts of Assam due to its tribal history, while Assam claims those areas because on the legal basis. So this is the basis of conflict between the two countries. Assam has similar conflicts with other states also like Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram, Meghalaya. Recently, it signed an agreement with Meghalaya by which give and take agreement. Some territories were given while some territories were taken by between Assam and Meghalaya. Similar agreement is being contemplated between Assam and Arunachal Pradesh, while Assam and Mizoram has been more violent, and Assam Manipur has, as I mentioned, between the different perception of the boundaries.
Okay. Recently, Border Security Force has detected a tunnel in Samba area of Jammu. So, how do you perceive that these tunnels are direct threat to the internal security of our country?
Sir, these tunnels can be used for a variety of purposes. Simply, they can be used for cross-border terrorism that India has mentioned that are a threat to our internal security. As Pakistan follows an official policy of bleeding India with 1,000 cuts. Apart from this, their issue of narco-terrorism, they can, as we know that on the Western front, India has the golden crescent, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Iran. So there can be drug trafficking into India, which can be used to finance terrorism. Similarly, there can be movement of counterfeit currency through these tunnels. So this can be done. Further, they can instigate Kashmir insurgency through these tunnels by moving in the because we have seen that in Kashmir, a lot of militants have come from Punjab. They are not from Kashmir. So Pakistani Punjab is sending in militants into Kashmir to instigate insurgency. So sir, these tunnels are a big challenge to our internal security because there can be movement of anti-national groups through these tunnels without coming to the eyes of the border security force.
Okay. Yesterday, four militants, so-called militants, who were moving with the IEDs and weapons, which were brought by drone from Pakistan, were caught by Karnal police. What do you know about that case?
So sorry, sir, I'm not aware of this.
Okay. What do you understand by the word IED?
Sir, IED means improvised explosive devices. These are improvised explosive devices, as the word mentioned, as they use chemical precursors, standard chemicals, and improvise them so that they can be used in an innovative manner, so as to cause harm to the armed forces,
Which kind
security
of
forces.
chemicals are used? Can you name some chemicals?
Yes, sir. So the chemicals like potassium nitrate, ammonium nitrate, these are, in fact, ammonium nitrate is a dual-use chemical. It can be used in making fertilizer also. Others like RDX can be used, dynamites can be used, and as I mentioned, ammonium nitrate, potassium nitrate can be used, sodium nitrate can be used, sodium chlorate can be used. So these are dual-use chemicals. That means they are used in other purposes also. That's why it becomes very difficult to control these chemicals. These chemicals, for example, chloride is used as a fertilizer also. So when people buy ammonium chloride, they can buy it for agriculture also, but it can be diverted for use towards making IEDs. While there are other chemicals like phosgene, sarin, which are chemicals, which are more regulated by the government. They cannot be easily diverted. While the chemical used in IEDs can be easily diverted because they are dual use.
Okay, you are deployed in the next slide area, where next slide are expert in laying the IEDs, and you have to move your 5-6 parties in the morning hours. And now brief your troops that how they can avoid IDs and what is ID and what are the precautions troops can take on the ground.
So first thing is I would brief them about the IEDs, what dangers IEDs can cause. IEDs can, first of all, IEDs are chemicals, they can cause blast, which can directly affect the personnel. Secondly, it can also lead to flying of projectiles. So it can affect troops even at a greater distance. So you should be aware of both of these dangers that IED poses. Now, regarding the precautions that you must take, first thing is, as I have read in CRPF, they use IED detectors. So IED detectors must be used very actively so as to detect the presence of IED. Second, sniper dogs must be used so that IEDs can be detected before they cause any damage. Next thing is that the troops must be in contact with the medicals and their superiors in case something untoward incident happens, so that they are able to inform so as to prevent casualties in the force.
Okay, one of the party
Second,
reports,
fourth thing, sir.
one of the party on way reports to you that sir we have detected one ID. It seems like ID. So there is no expert in that party to diffuse it. What will be your action?
So first consideration would be the distance, whether we can deploy an expert to the distance. And if and all we are not able to deploy the expert, then second thing is that basic training is given to the soldiers in case how to handle IEDs. If and all they are able to find it by the institutes that are aligned with the CRPF and other forces. So you have to follow the SOP until the help arises. You have to ensure that you maintain your own security and the security of other troops.
Okay. Why China is stressing time and again that India should keep aside the border issue. Border issue can be resolved later on, but we should have bilateral talk on other subjects. There is a lot to be discussed between the two countries.
Sir, India has clearly stated that without border issues being resolved, we will not proceed on talks. But China insists on the talks because there is an American understanding that China follows a border policy of salami slicing, wherein they take away land and create strategic outposts so that they would be they would gain a strategic advantage on the border so as to create pressure on the continental front over India. That is what China desires. They do not want to affect the overall nation, but they want the border issues not to be solved so that they can keep on getting strategic posts, strategic areas on the border so as to create pressure on India. Sir.
Okay. What is your age now?
Sorry, sir.
What is your age now? Age
Sir, 24, sir.
24. So how many more chances you have for the CAPF exam?
Sir, one more chance.
One more chance. So my question is, supposing you miss the mark this time, what will you do next time?
Sir, I would focus more on my written examination because I know I have the capacity to clear this examination. So I would focus more on the areas which I might have lacked. After seeing the result, I would analyze that which were the areas I lacked, whether it was the written part or the interview part, and I would work accordingly.
Okay. You had the subjects of science in your BSc, you obtained first class, and that is with physics,
Yes,
chemistry,
sir.
mathematics, English, and environmental science.
Yes, sir. The chemistry was my main subject.
Okay, okay. Are you listening to me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So how do you view that your this degree will be helpful to the CSF?
Sir, my understanding of science can be very helpful in CISF for many reasons. First is my knowledge of chemicals can help me understand the various explosives that are used in the bombs. For example, there is potassium nitrate, there is nitrocellulose, trinitrotoluene, which are used, and similarly there is RDX that are used in bombs. So it will be very helpful. This knowledge will be helpful in bomb disposal. Secondly, sir, as CISF, as CISF is not restricted only to industrial security, it also provides consultation, fire security. So even in chemical warfare, my knowledge of chemicals can be very important. For example, there is sarin, phosgene, mustard gas, hydrogen cyanide. These are very harmful chemicals that can be used in the chemical warfare. So my knowledge of chemicals can help me tackle these issues. Next thing, sir, uh, CISF also is working in the domain of cyber security nowadays because industrial security is now not limited to physical security. Someone sitting outside our borders can incapacitate our industrial installations. So my understanding of knowledge and data analysis can also help me in dealing with cyber security issues in consultation with the experts. So sir, I believe my knowledge of science can can help me in my
CSF has
work
got very
in the
well
CISF.
firefighting equipments, and they are good firefighters also.
Yes, sir.
So what chemicals are
Yes, sir.
used in these cylinders of firefighting?
Sir, in these CO2 is used, sir. Solid carbon dioxide is used. Dry isotope is
How is
not.
it produced?
It is used. Sir, there is a reaction inside these between a chemical and a base so as to produce carbon dioxide.
What are the two chemicals which react and we get carbon dioxide?
Sir, sorry, sir, I am not aware.
How will you diffuse the electrical fires?
Sir, if to diffuse electrical fires, sir, dry ice can be used.
Okay.
And the
Okay,
source
thank you.
must be
Thank you very much.
removed.
Okay, thank you.